The first question comes in from Shirley, who's in Hong Kong. Shirley says, I want to understand what the board's vision, understand the board vision to see the future of facilitation in 3 years. Is it for everyone or more for those who want to become facilitation specialists? So the vision for the next 3 years, and is that vision exclusive to those who are facilitators, or is it open to everyone? Who's going to take that one?
I'm happy to start.
Sure.
So as Rebecca said, we're about to go into our next round of strategic planning, which is an opportunity for the new board in 2024 to set, some specific goals around things. What I would say is that our vision is to see facilitation used around the world to help people solve problems. And our mission, I suppose, is to set standards and provide that credential for the facilitator, who we probably describe as a person who just does facilitation. It's what they do all the time. It's their chosen profession. But we also know that there are many people who have an interest in and use facilitation. It just might not be their full-time job. There are many roles that might use facilitation, town planners, anyone doing engagement, those sorts of things. So I think the board's current view, and we've got some other board members who can speak up, but it's not an either or. I think the board sees that the association's role in line with its mission is to serve both that broad community of people who have an interest in facilitation, and including clients. We know that we need to also educate clients about what facilitation is, what facilitation isn't, and also that there is a professional association for facilitators that they can be using credentials and things to help them when they're choosing facilitators. But we also do want to serve and be that very broad and inclusive and welcoming community of practice for all. Recently, we have been doing some work on these very questions. Some of you may have participated in the membership model review survey, which we had a fantastic response to. So thank you to everybody who responded. We also had follow-up focus group sessions around that. And that in essence, that work was trying to get some feedback from members about that very question, Shirley. And I think what's come back is that credentials and professional development opportunities are very important to people in many regions. Networking came out as something that's very important. But what came out in the data is that we do have this mix of people who facilitate full-time, it's their career, that's what they do. And we have this other segment, I'll call them, of people who use facilitation in another profession. So I don't know whether any of the board members have anything you want to add.
Does that answer your question? Does that help you?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry for not turning on camera because I was too sleepy at the moment. But thank you for your answers. Because I want to get, because when I consider joining a board or not, I want to understand the alignment of visions of where we're going to, and I really appreciate your answers. That is what I'm thinking as well, because I'm on the side that I work in a company, but I wanted to promote facilitation for everyone who just about to learn and kickstart that journey, and that is where the area that I am interested in, and also for the non-native English speaker, which is where I'm coming from as well. Thank you.
Yeah, great. And I should also just thank Shirley for your contribution to the Facilitation Impact Awards too. It's much appreciated.
Great, thanks.
Question
time?
Tony, may I just add a little thing, which is that when you see the board, we are a participatory organization, and so the board, in some way, part of the board role is also not to decide what we need to do as a strategy, but involve members in defining the strategy. So, which is a big challenge, as it is, but it's always, this is at least one of my key learnings as a board member. So, you know, being a board member doesn't mean to make happen what you think the association should do, but to open a conversation with other members and all together to find a way and make things happen. So that's a really key point for me. Okay, so we are a participatory organization, and the board should act in a participatory way always. That's at least my belief.
Thanks. So the floor is open for questions. You can either verbalize, or we can use the chat. Here comes Linda. Let's get it out. Question: is IAF considering diversifying membership on board with internal, that should be with internal and external facilitators, as well as a variety of types? Also, the future of IAF certification in the face of growing competitors. So that's a double-barred question. Who's going to take that one?
Can I just,
Sure.
Rebecca hand is up.
I'll just get us started, and happy to have a longer conversation about it. Thanks for the question, Linda. And nice to put a face to your name. Hi. The board is open to internal and external facilitators already. So in terms of, I want to make sure I'm understanding your question in terms of internal and external to the association, or internal and external, say, to a company.
The profession. I think that what I was sort of getting at is this notion of IAF being proactive in recruiting specific target audiences. And my experience, particularly since the pandemic, but in recent years, is when I was on the board, you would say, I'm a facilitator, and people would say, oh, you are, make reservations at hotels. I mean, people didn't even know what facilitators did. Oh, you're a facilitator? I'm not going to let anybody facilitate my meeting. I'm in charge. Now it's a different world. And it just makes me wonder, and I'm taking advantage of jumping on this meeting because I'm so happy to be here and see some people who are interested. And just wondering if that's what that looks like. And I'm also concerned about private businesses that are competing with IAF certification. And I'm complete, and I'll stop talking.
I appreciate that. I was going to say that as well, that first of all, in theory, the board is open to people of all different types of facilitation preference in terms of where they sit, inside or outside. But in terms of the competition, I think that's a really important question for us. And so when I mentioned earlier, we've got some curves that need to be turned the other way. The two that I'm paying most attention to, one is our membership number overall, and one is the interest in our certification, because our certification is one of our, has been, one of our core offerings, and really key to our identity as an association and our value proposition. Really, I know Brad on our board would say that we are the global standard bearer of certification. And I don't know if that's true as much as it used to be. And you're right, in my opinion, the main competition for that is from individual private companies. It's not from other associations. I think sometimes there is that, but I think historically that's been where the competition has come from, is other associations, whereas now it's definitely, particularly in the US, it's from private companies doing that. And so, our response to that, I'm not sure we've had a fulsome conversation about it, but I certainly plan to raise it when the board has opportunity to meet for longer. We need to have some longer conversations about some of these key things. So thanks for bringing that up.
And Linda drops in a note: we are the only nonprofit. Yeah.
May I just add a couple of things? So,
Sure.
Linda, when we are talking about the membership model, we are considering also in some way, and we are asking ourselves now, where are the borders of facilitation? Who is the community we are relating to in this sense? And I agree with you. It's also probably the facilitation board has changed a lot in this year. So we need to consider also this. Same for the certification. So I know that Simon Wilson, which is our current professional development director, is going to launch soon a sort of project which in some way wants to reflect on our certification model, and if there is any need to update it or change it or whatever. Okay, so there is a lot of work to do. I'm always joking with Julia and just saying that whenever you look into the association, there is something to fix. See, even with the things that you have done a month ago, you need to change them. So there is a lot of work, and that's a big challenge. Sometimes can also be a bit scaring or frightening because, you know, it's a lot of work, but I mean, there is a lot to do. Julia, over to you, and Hope, over to you.
Yeah, just because just picking up on that point Tony made about synthesizing. So for me, what you've just witnessed is one of the many fantastic, challenging sort of things that the association is dealing with. And, you know, it's the sort of thing that the board needs to, it's the sort of thing we have conversations about. What, you know, what's happening in our environment? What does that mean for us and the role that we're trying to play? And as Hope said, you know, how can we engage with our membership to get insights from them around the direction we should take? So in a sense, you've just sort of modeled exactly what being on the board is about. Is, you know, we have a mission, we have a vision, and it's really about, well, you know, what's happening in the world, what do our members think, where should we drive that? And then, you know, we can't do everything. So we do our bylaws control, you know, the composition of our board. To be a member on the board, you have to be an IAF member, and our board members are elected by members. We don't have skills-based board where we can go out and target that we need a person with a particular skill. What we do is we work with our membership to say, these are the roles, please stand. And then, as Gerardo said, members vote for who sit on the board. So we're a little bit different to some other boards where you recruit the board member that you need. Ours, it's a democratic process. So for me, really important for people to look at those role statements, think about those fantastic challenges that are out there. And, you know, my counsel to any board member is always, you know, focus on one or two really important things. Don't try to do everything because you can spread yourself too thin.
Before you come in, Hope, I want to spotlight a comment from Linda. She says, newcomers, big shout out. These are the kinds of issues that if you're interested in, you get to work on. So get involved. Thanks, Linda. Hope?
Yeah, and my comment is really brief. I'm endorsing what Julia just said, that what we just had was an example of the kind of discussions which we're having on the board, and which will be ongoing, because like every other organization, we are changing constantly. So we need to have these discussions constantly. And that is what people will get into when they join the board. You get a chance to contribute to those dynamic conversations and to help to chart the way forward. And one of the things is that joining the board may seem like something very daunting. Certainly when I was asked, I was quite daunted, like, you know, what do I have to contribute, that sort of thing. But once you join the board, then, you know, that concern is completely dispelled very quickly, because of the level of interaction on the board, the level of patience and understanding and support and respect that, you know, we feel among ourselves as we engage with each other. So it's really a great growth opportunity and an opportunity to make a great contribution to the development of facilitation.
If it helps, Hope, you know, I have learned that all of us suffer from this thing that is called imposter syndrome. You know, that, you know, we're invited in, and then we tell ourselves, you know, that's not for me. I'm not good enough, or I don't have this and I don't have that. And I'm told that all of us, without exception, suffer from that. So if you're here this evening and someone has nudged you, or you're contemplating offering yourself up for service, just know that all of us have that experience of doubting ourselves and our capacity
Absolutely.
to rise to the occasion. I saw a note here, Rebecca, I'm going to invite you to put a little bit more to build this out for you if you care to. You comment you made about 100% active recruitment versus passive openness. You're in a place where you can build it out a little bit more?
Yeah, I was responding to Linda's comment that there's one thing to say anyone is welcome, and that's not the same. I mean, my words more than yours, Linda. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but the idea of saying anyone can is not the same as actively soliciting and targeting recruitment to underrepresented folks or to new people or to an expanded membership. And so I absolutely hear that. And I think that I think my experience on the board, picking up on Gerardo's comment about, everywhere you look, there's stuff to do. I think that part of the challenge, honestly, of, you've heard some of the folks on this call saying, there's a lot to be done and each board member does what they can. And yes, it is both a governance and operational board, and it is a volunteer thing, and most people are busy and right. So we're in a challenge of lots of things we can work on, and yet I think that's why the strategy piece is so important, because to the extent that every board member, could go off and work on whatever bits of their job description appeal to them, we could dilute that impact really easily, because there is so much to be done. And so I don't want to make excuses for not doing some things, but it's just, as Gerardo said, you set priorities across the many things that we could be working on. Absolutely. And I can assure you that at least from where I'm sitting, there's a much longer list of things we thus far have not had time for than things that we do. And also I would say that my experience on this board compared to others is that for the size of the association we are, there's a remarkable amount of stuff going on. I thought that the association was actually way bigger than it was. I feel like it appears much more like it shows up as larger than it is, partly because of that beautiful international presence. But I'm just really struck when I think about it from sort of the inside view from the board, how much we are doing given what's going on. But I also am very conscious of how much, like, there's just constantly, I leave every meeting with 10 ideas of things I wish I had time to do, and 1 or 2 that I could actually get done.
Great. Thanks so much, Rebecca. Julia, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I suppose wanted to, a lot of our stories have been about, someone tapping us on the shoulder and, the imposter syndrome. I think I'd just like to send a message to people who might have the imposter syndrome and not even think about it, but haven't been tapped on the shoulder. I think in some ways that's even more courageous to look at the role statements, find that strength. You've heard some of the challenges that we have as a board, and there are all different sorts of strengths we can use on the board. If you've got a strength that you think can help the International Association of Facilitators, then that with passion and some commitment is all you really need. So please don't think that you need to sit and wait for someone to tap you on the shoulder. That tapping on the shoulder, is fantastic. That means your peers are saying that they have confidence in you. But if that's not happening with you, still please look at that role statement and find your strength and nominate if you think you can contribute.